location, whereabouts, or a bearing and range from our ship.
The last person to talk to Thresher was Bosun's Mate Second Class Roy Mallon from the bridge of the Skylark.
In the early hours of April 10th, 1963, the Atlantic was calm, the kind of eerie stillness that only the deep ocean knows. Hundreds of miles off the coast of Cape Cod, a state-of-the-art U.S. Navy submarine, the USS Thresher, began what should have been a routine deep diving test. It was the pride of America's naval engineering, sleek, nuclear-powered, and built to outclass anything the Soviets could ever dream of.
Approximately 9:02, Thresher called us on the UQC and asked us to repeat our course and speed, and we repeated it back to her. Approximately 10 minutes later, we got a routine.
She was known as Silent Strength, but within hours, that silence would become permanent. The Thresher wasn't just any sub. She was the Navy's most advanced weapon, faster, quieter, and more lethal than anything before her. She could hunt enemy subs in total silence, fire the Navy's newest anti-submarine missiles, and disappear beneath the waves for months at a time. To the outside world, she was untouchable, a masterpiece of Cold War engineering. But at 7:47 a.m. that day, with 129 men aboard, sailors, engineers, shipyard specialists, the Thresher began her descent. Commander John Wesley Harvey guided her carefully toward her test depth, 1,300 feet beneath the surface. A rescue ship, the Skylark, hovered above, listening for the submarine's routine updates through an underwater phone line. Everything seemed normal. Then, somewhere near 9 a.m., the messages began to distort, faint, crackling, almost unintelligible. One last garbled sentence came through. Experiencing minor difficulty, have positive up angle, attempting to blow, and then silence. Minutes later, Skylark's sonar detected a deep, thunderous sound, one that submariners dread and oceanographers recognize instantly, the unmistakable boom of a hull collapsing under crushing pressure. The Thresher was gone. When the Navy announced the loss, America was stunned. The Cold War had made danger feel distant, something that happened to other nations in other waters. But this was home. President Kennedy ordered flags flown at half-mast. Families gathered at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, where the Thresher had been built, waiting for answers that would take years to come. The initial search was frantic. Navy ships, research vessels, and sonar specialists combed the ocean for any sign of the missing submarine. Days passed before the first debris was found. Twisted metal, fragments of machinery, and a haunting realization. The Thresher had imploded over 8,000 feet down, deeper than any diver could reach. It was the first nuclear submarine ever lost at sea. When the bathyscaphe Trieste finally reached the wreck site months later, the scene was otherworldly. The once mighty submarine was shattered into 5 major sections spread across 33 acres of ocean floor. The bow, the sail, the stern, all torn apart. The hull itself was crushed like paper, the pressure having destroyed everything in less than 1/10 of a second. The crew never had a chance, but what they found and what they learned changed the Navy forever. At first, investigators believed a simple mechanical failure was to blame, maybe a faulty pipe or a valve that didn't hold under pressure. But as they dug deeper, a chilling picture emerged. The Thresher had been designed using silver brazed joints, delicate connections in the ship's saltwater piping system that were cheaper and faster to make than traditional welds. During previous tests, nearly 14% of those joints showed weakness. Most were deemed safe, but on that April morning, one of them likely gave out. A high-pressure stream of seawater would have erupted through the pipe, spraying electrical panels and short-circuiting the sub's power systems. The lights would have flickered. Then the reactor, the heart of the ship, automatically shut down, plunging the Thresher into darkness. Without propulsion, she began to sink. Standard procedure in that moment was clear. Blow the ballast tanks, flood them with air, and force the submarine back to the surface. The crew tried. The Skylark even heard the hiss of air over the underwater phone line, but nothing happened. The airlines were frozen solid. Moisture had condensed and turned to ice under the sudden pressure change, clogging the system.
Just the bottom was, and so that people who understood these things could make estimates of how far the submarine might have sunk into the sediment. In addition to this, we have made magnetometer surveys. With this device, we had hoped to get an indication of the submarine. So far, we have had only one successful run with it. In all other cases, we have had troubles from either pressure or temperature or leaks in the pressure case at these very great depths.
It was a design flaw no one had ever accounted for. Inside the Thresher, panic must have been controlled but palpable. The men fought to restart the reactor, to get power back, to stabilize, but at that depth, every passing second was lethal. Without propulsion, she was heavy, tail first, sinking deeper. Then at around 9:18 a.m., sensors above picked up a sudden low-frequency boom. The Thresher had reached her breaking point, about 2,400 feet down. The implosion lasted a tenth of a second, humanly instantaneous. When the Trieste-2 descended to the wreck months later, they found only pieces. A torn section of the bow, the sail buried in silt, sections of machinery twisted beyond recognition. One of the engineers described it like a machine put through a giant shredder. The only intact part was a mangled foot of pipe, the same kind believed to have failed that morning. And yet, amid tragedy came revelation. The Navy realized this wasn't just a mechanical failure, it was systemic. Design shortcuts, loose safety standards, rushed innovation, all byproducts of Cold War urgency. Admiral Hyman Rickover, the father of the nuclear navy, said it best. The loss of Thresher should not be viewed as the failure of a weld or a valve, but of a philosophy. That philosophy changed immediately. From the wreckage of the Thresher was born the SubSafe program, the most rigorous submarine safety system ever conceived. Every weld, every joint, every pipe on every U.S. submarine would now be triple-checked, documented, and certified. Since then, the U.S. Navy has never lost a SubSafe certified submarine, but even decades later, Thresher hasn't been forgotten. The wreck lies nearly a mile and a half below the ocean's surface, her reactor sealed, her crew entombed forever on what sailors call eternal patrol. The Navy still monitors the site, checking for radiation, surveying the remains, and every year families gather at memorials in Portsmouth, Kittery, and Arlington to remember the 129 souls who never came home. And then there's what came after. In the 1980s, oceanographer Robert Ballard, the man who would later discover the Titanic, was secretly sent by the Navy to study the wrecks of both the Thresher and the Scorpion. What he found confirmed what investigators had feared all along. The Thresher hadn't sunk gently. She'd been obliterated by the sheer force of the deep. The implosion was so violent that nothing recognizable remained. The ocean had erased everything but the lesson. Today, the Thresher is more than just a name carved into granite memorials. It's a turning point in naval history. Her story is retold in songs, documentaries, even fiction. Reminders that the pursuit of power without respect for safety can have devastating consequences. Some of her crew were young men barely out of their teens. Others were seasoned veterans, engineers, fathers, husbands. When you read the roll call, 129 names, it's a sobering thought. Every innovation we trust in submarines today was paid for with their lives. And somewhere, 8,400 feet beneath the waves, the Thresher still rests. Silent, broken, but not forgotten. Her motto was Vis Tacita, silent strength. In a way, she still lives up to it, because from the darkness where she fell, she gave the world a light that's still guiding every submarine that sails the seas today.